What do you guys think about this? There's a saying that goes something along the lines of, not word for word or verbatim. There's a saying, or how do I word it? So men sometimes don't marry the love of their lives.
Whew.
And
that's good.
I want to know what you guys think. So men don't marry the love of their lives. Let me land. They marry the woman that they're with at the time of them being ready to
out of
get
convenience,
married.
almost.
Oh, yeah, it's out of convenience to some extent, if you want to put it bluntly. But I think the way it's been worded is they don't marry the love of their life. Let's say, for example, they've been with, they've had what's it called, childhood sweetheart from school.
The one who got away.
The one. Hey, let's call it that. They've had a childhood sweetheart for quite some time,
Right.
and obviously being 15, 16, a lot of people are not ready for marriage, let's just say, right?
Right.
Some are, some aren't. But let's say the majority aren't ready for marriage. Then they grow older. Let's say the woman wants to get married at 23, but he's probably still not ready. And, let's just say something happened, they're not married and they go their separate ways. And by the time, his next relationship is when he's 26, 27, all of a sudden it seems like he's proposed to her quite quickly. Or maybe in the span of 6 months, let's say, or 4 months, however long, but it's quick in the eyes of society.
Right.
So what do we think of that? Do we feel like men marry, I hate using the word convenience, but actually it's right out of convenience, or just at the time they just seem to be ready in that moment, that's why they've done it, rather than this is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with because she's been there through thick and thin?
Wow.
And it makes sense to propose
I think
to
it can
her.
be both.
Okay.
I think there are some men who they were in a relationship where they were younger with the person that was like the love of their lives, and they mess up. And then they meet someone down the line who is a great woman. And they know that, okay, this is someone that I could build with, but they're not entirely, I don't want to say they're not in love with her, but I don't know how to word it. I don't know what the right word is. Because I've seen some men have this conversation where they're keeping, unfortunately, they're keeping tabs on, like, as married men, they're keeping tabs on the women that, the women that they lost, the women that got away, like you said
like
earlier.
whilst in their marriage,
Whilst
they're
in their
watching
marriage.
this, like her whereabouts,
Right,
and keeping, okay.
And maybe not so stalkerish like that in terms of her whereabouts, but
just knowing her accomplishments, her milestones,
like going on her socials,
whether she's
like,
engaged now,
this is what she's doing, that kind of thing. Because you see men do it in relationships, so it doesn't now automatically switch off when they're married. The unwise men, anyway. What I mean by that is some men, anyway, you will date them and then you'll see they still have ties with their exes. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right.
You see it in relationships. So that's why I believe that if it's not dealt with then, it will follow you into marriage. Like, I don't know why people think when you say I do, everything just cuts. Like, if you're not dating someone that's emotionally intelligent and like, as believers, if you're not dating someone who loves the Lord and would want to honor and respect you, we're not talking about those kind of men, by the way. We're talking about, the men that just, they don't really give a heck. It's just, I need to get married because it looks good on paper.
Journey. Let's just do it.
I want to become a CEO, and most CEOs, like male CEOs, are married because they look more reliable, all of that stuff.
Like doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, basically. So I've seen that conversation. I just find it really interesting.
I think it's interesting because that phrase, men don't marry the love of their lives, they marry
some.
Yeah.
No, not sorry, some.
Some.
They marry whoever's there when they're ready to get married, essentially. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. What do you think? You shocked?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot because I actually, in one way I disagree.
Okay.
Because I actually think, and it's unfortunate, but I think because of biology, men get longer to wait around before they get married than women do, in quotes, like, because women have a biological clock. Men also do, because your sperm does start to like change, by the way. Don't. But I do think men tend to marry who they want to marry. I don't know. I don't think
it's both.
I don't think it's that they just marry whoever's there. I think, unfortunately, they could have had a very good relationship earlier on in their life that seemed to be the love of their life. But like, a man and a woman are never going to get married unless that man wants to get married. That's the unfortunate. That's the. I don't know if it's unfortunate, because you don't want to marry someone that doesn't want to marry you, to be honest. But yeah, you're not going to get, like, no relationship is going towards marriage. marriage if that man doesn't want to get married. So to me, I don't think it's that they marry who's there. I actually just think it's when they're ready, if the person's there, they get married. And that's why it might seem like they don't marry the person that they seem to have the better connection with, like when they were younger. But that might not always be the case. It might just be that they were not ready to get married at that time. And unfortunately, maybe they were not able to nurture that relationship to the point of marriage, or that girl didn't want to wait around anymore and she, you know, went and did whatever. And that's just what happened.
I think
I agree with that too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're basically, if you think about it, we're kind of saying the same thing in terms of the quote that I initially said, because again, not to use the word convenience, but for whatever the reason is, when they were younger or before a certain age, they just weren't able to get to that, maybe that maturity, or maybe it was financially, whatever it was, they just, the marriage wasn't sort of the first thing on their mind in that moment, because they're working or doing whatever they needed to do. Maybe if that woman had stuck around long, not to say like the circumstances are always the woman leaving, but let's say if the woman had stuck around a little bit longer, it would have married her. Yeah, it would have been heard, you know, that he ended up marrying. Yeah. But because, like you said, a man doesn't get married except if he wants to.
It's not happening.
It's not gonna happen. So
how do you feel about that?
At that stage, then
how do you guys feel about that? Like, because as women, we want to get married, innit? But essentially, we will never get married. Oh, God forbid, we will. As in, we won't get married until the man that we're with wants to get married.
When you say that, is it because he pops the question?
Yeah, because we're not proposing, are we? Is anybody here want to propose? God forbid. So like, how does it make you feel as a woman that you essentially won't get married until the person that you're with wants to marry you?
Do you know what though? Even that statement, I feel like it's double-sided, you know, of the same coin. Yeah. Because there are some men that get married, but for the wrong reasons, like not because they want to get married, but because of pressure that they could have around them from family, or pressure from the woman. Like they just throw themselves into it.
Right.
So it's
so it's not as if it's their genuine desire to get married. So it's not like they want to get married. It's just the things around them has just pushed them to just
it can be both.
And you're essentially saying the marriage itself is not a prize, because you're essentially saying them marrying you is not really the thing that we should be like, wow.
Yeah.
So I hear
that's what I'm saying.
His whole life.
Oh my days.
You're that woman.
I got the ring.
It's just because he was pressured.
Right.
But to answer your question, how do I feel about that? I feel fine.
Okay. Fairs.
Wait. What's the question?
How do you feel as a woman that you're not going to get married until a man wants to marry you?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel fine.
Because that's the context under which I want to get married. Like, if we're being honest,
why would you want to get married to someone that doesn't want to marry you?
And, do you know what I'm saying?
I'm not getting down on, regardless of what they're saying on social media. You know, it's 2025. You know, woman, independent, take matters into your own hands. The day you see me kneeling on one knee to propose is the day. That day's not coming. Is the day I've lost.
I've run mad.
I've lost it. They've put cocaine in my system somehow, somewhere.
I don't even think cocaine could drive you to do that.
No, it's actually so far-fetched. Facts
for any of us.
That's what I'm saying. I feel it doesn't make me feel like, oh my gosh, will I ever get chosen?
Yeah, no. Do you know what's so interesting though? I do think that I do think
but my sleeping pattern is very fine.
I sleep like a baby. I'm drooling.
I do think that a lot of women though are in relationships.
Sorry.
Stay healthy.
No, it's okay. I do think a lot of women are in relationships though with men that they've been waiting.
What do you mean?
And the marriage hasn't come.
Oh.
So in that scenario,
what do you say to those women?
That's what I'm asking, because in that scenario, what do you say?
Oh, this one's a very tricky one.
It is.
Because it's so tricky, because every single relationship is so different. So you can actually never understand
it's not one size fits all.
Yeah. And one thing I have noticed with a lot of commentators that's not in the relationship with the man and woman is when they see a relationship where marriage hasn't happened and the relationship is long term, maybe they've been together for a while, they always assume the woman is crying and begging for marriage. Of course I can understand where those thoughts come from, because at the end of the day, biologically, like, women are a biological clock, we want to get married, all these things, but there are some dynamic that I guess exists where they both have an understanding as to why marriage hasn't occurred yet.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like you guys agree, but
no, do you know what? I'm taking in what you're saying, and do you know what? I think that's one aspect of it. I think,
or maybe the woman might be convincing herself that there's
She's
a
happy.
reason, or she's happy as to whatever the reason is. Something is going on. It's not always one size fit all, where the woman is so traumatized that she's
100%,
not married.
100%.
Oh my gosh, why is this man not married?
100%.
Let's use the perfect example: Diddy and Cassie, for example.
Oh.
Do you remember?
I don't think she was happy.
No, but we
Do you know,
we
no, do you know
know
what
that
it is?
now.
We know
but-
that
Because
now,
she's a
but
married
at the
woman
time-
now.
But then people were like, oh, well, you know why they're not getting married? Like, get married.
And I don't like that pressure.
Yeah, but that pressure's not right.
Because you're pushing people in a direction they're not ready
that
for.
you don't
or that's
even know,
dangerous.
and you don't
prison.
even know the mindset that they have
Imagine
in
if
that
she got
relationship.
married. That would have, like, especially we knowing what we know now.
Now,
Yeah.
exactly.
That would have been so dangerous. For
Dangerous.
her.
Do you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe she most likely didn't want to marry him.
There's a lot of people that
Do you know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like, think about the dynamic, the situation that they were in. I obviously I can't speak for Cassie, but knowing what we know now, I would not be surprised if marriage was so far off her mind.
100%.
With the dynamic and the situation she had
It's
at hand.
true.
So that's if anything, this even adds to the point that a lot of people, commentators outside, they project onto the woman in the relationship.
that's-
Where it's
that's
like
how they
the
would feel
next
in
step
the
is like
situation.
marriage. Yes, fair enough if you've been in a relationship for a very long time. Naturally, of course, especially as Christians, you think the next step is marriage. But there would usually sometimes, not all the time, sometimes they are right where the woman might be pushing for marriage, but there could be other circumstances that could be delaying the marriage that the woman herself understands. And I feel like pushing that narrative can be very dangerous.
Definitely.
Especially in our community, especially with certain things on the rise in terms of, trigger warning, domestic violence, and just really, really
A
cool
variety
things
of
that happen
things,
in
yeah.
marriage. I think, our community really needs to understand. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I
but
hear what you're
I feel like
saying.
there just needs to be a less pressure and projection on a woman in a long-term relationship. She might be trying to leave that relationship, but she's struggling to do that.
Yeah.
How about that? Let's talk about that.
There needs to be more grace. And you know what? I realised a lot of people, this will probably be hard for them to hear, but not everybody wants to get married.
That's another thing.
That's another thing. That's another angle. Not everyone who is in a relationship aspires for that to be the next stage. Obviously, we're coming from the angle as believers, and we would hope that all believers, unless you know the Lord has called you to
be a unit.
Something
singleness,
else,
yeah. But naturally, and it's the way we've been wired as well, that you meet a man, you have your fairy tale wedding. Not everyone has at the time. The same way some women don't want to have children.
Yeah.
It's possible,
Right.
Like
This
it's
is what I'm
actually
saying, the
possible
projection
for
is
some men. The
crazy.
same way for some men, they don't want to get married. It's the same for some women. I don't know why when they hear women say, they're like, oh, she's lying. Oh, it's because her man hasn't popped the question.
So
That's
she's
why
just
she's saying that.
complacent,
That's not always the case. Like, some women are happy just leaving it as girlfriend. So then what now if they've had the conversation? Like, let's take it on the flip side. If they've had the conversation with the man and he says, oh, I'm not ready to get married. I don't see myself getting married until maybe later down the line. What do you then advise to that woman?
When is later?
I think there needs to be I think there needs to be just specific.
Yeah, like you need to give me
timeframes.
specific. I need clarity.
But that's
Because if I'm the babe in that relationship, being aligned is very important to me.
Right.
If I want to get married at a certain point and you don't want to get married at a certain point, there has to there has to be a conversation. And that the relationship, I think that's a very worthy reason for a relationship to end.
Oh, I was going to say that. I'm not going to lie.
I think so.
I was going to say that woman should walk away.
I think especially if, say, for instance,
sorry.
in your scenario where he said for a very long time, he doesn't know. So now I'm asking you, when is that? And you can't give me an answer.
That's what I'm saying.
That to me shows a lack of direction. You don't have a clue. I need to have a clue about my own future. You're not going to leave me waiting in the balance. I don't believe in holding people ransom.
Right.
I especially in relationships, don't hold people ransom. I also don't believe in the one. Do you know what I mean? I believe that, yes, God can ordain that you meet a specific person, for instance, and maybe that person really work, like, beautiful. But as in, God will always provide. The same way God provided a ram. When Abraham said that he has to go there and sacrifice Isaac, there was a ram. God will make providence out of a desperate situation. Do you know what I mean? So desperate is crazy, but you know what I'm saying. God will make a way.
Right.
So holding a person ransom,
it's
just meaning.
I'm sorry, that narrative is crazy.
Insane.
Like,
it's kind of like, let's see where it goes, right?
Yeah,
In a relationship.
Playing it by ear.
And we've already said we
Playing it
don't
by
know
ear.
any flow except the Holy
Spirit. Thank you.
Right.
And that whole because you don't know, my
is on
life
pause.
should now be on pause because you don't know.
Absolutely not.
And unfortunately, we've seen it time and time again where women will stay in those situations because they believe they can either, one, change a man's perception or change their opinion to make them believe or get to a point where, do you know what, she's the one I want to marry. Or two, to the point where they feel like, do you know what, later on, basically the same, later on down the line, he will come to the conclusion that, okay, yes, I want to get married. But there's no guarantee.
There's none.
And we've seen it where men will be the perfect example. Yeah, sorry, I know we're mentioning celebrities. Ashanti and Nelly. Nelly was literally in a relationship with his ex for years. He rekindled with Ashanti within that same year that they rekindled, baby and marriage.
Really? Wow. Well, there you
It's
go.
not like,
So
you know, I realised we really like
Timing and person.
we really coddle men. Like, oh, he doesn't
We infantilize
know,
them.
it's okay.
100%.
Men know.
I 100% believe that.
To a degree.
No, they know.
The same way they plan their future. I want this for my career.
Yeah.
You know, by 35, I want to have this. Da, da, da.
How can they not be sure
telling
about
me
you?
that one area they don't know.
Not capable.
It's cap.
How?
I even have a question actually from a Christian angle about this as well.
Right.
A lot of Christians do the whole, oh, I'm waiting for God to tell me thing. Yeah. So people are holding other people in the balance.
Sorry.
Right?
I think that's manipulative.
You're in a relationship with someone,
I
they're
don't
like,
know why I
oh.
laughed.
No, because you're in a relationship, someone's like, oh, well, you asked them 1 week, oh, I'm still praying. Okay. 5 weeks has passed. I'm still praying. God is not the author of confusion.
Sorry. Can I be really honest with you? And a lot of the times, 9 times out of 10, you're not praying.
Okay.
Let's really keep it a buck. You're not actually praying, because if you were praying, the Lord would give, like he said, the Lord always provides. The same way the Lord would provide you with an answer, because again, he's not the author of confusion.
No.
He would not want you to be holding someone's emotions hostage and for you to be dangling them. The Lord would give you an answer. Release her or prepare yourself for marriage. One or the other. It's not limbo.
Especially when she's a child of God. God
Right.
does not want
let's
to sit in
be
there
like,
confused.
let's not do.
Or
I actually
you.
think it's a little bit manipulative.
100%.
because it keeps people in a, oh my gosh, she's praying, so me too, let me pray. You know, let's see what the Lord is going to say.
I can understand
Let's
if that's what you
see.
start off with, because please
But
praying.
how long?
divulge in prayer.
100. But that's the thing. Yeah.
It's about how long you're keeping each other waiting.
It's been 6 months.
And
I
you're
know
still
that-
praying.
I think
not even to be humble,
6 months.
you haven't heard the Lord yet.
no, because God actually
6
answers,
months.
especially things like that. Especially
6 months?
6 months.
Oh, okay.
Especially if we're talking about relationship with the Lord here, yeah. Because I think, let's be clear. Some of us are not hearing from the Lord because we're not used to hearing from him in the small things. But if as Christians we're nurturing that muscle of hearing from the Lord in the small things, in the when he tells you to apologize to someone, you listen.
Right.
In the this, why is it that when it comes to that, he's not going to answer you?
Oh, I haven't heard an answer yet. Sometimes also you already have an answer in your head, and because you're not hearing the answer you want to, it's let me keep praying. Let me still pray.
You're not,
We've all
you're
been
not
there.
ready to face the truth.
We've all
You're not
been
ready
there.
to sort of do the action and do
Release people.
Let them breathe.
Release them immediately in the name of the Lord. Release them.
Sorry.
It's true.
Can I still on this topic slightly?
Yeah.
Something just came up the other day. So
Oh gosh.
if you've heard about or been on social media recently, you've seen one of the biggest weddings in Nigeria took place last week or something between
I saw the clips.
Priscilla and Juma
Juma Jokes.
the Tanzanian artist.
Yes.
And it was quite a huge wedding. You know, Priscilla Ojo, she really done justice because her daughter had a great wedding. So the backstory with them is apparently, again, I don't know them, so I can't tell you this is facts. This is what I've heard.
She said PSA.
Please, before you attack and say, oh, did you know? I don't know them. So they were dating for 8 months. The whole process of them dating and getting married was 8 months.
So wait, from first meeting to their wedding day,
I don't know about
8
first
months.
meeting, but the dating period
Actually
was 8
dating.
months.
Wow.
Okay. 8 months.
But I haven't seen that they've known each other longer before they started
Yeah.
dating. They sort of met and then they sort of got into it dating and 8 months. 8 months period. It's not been a year thereabout.
Wow.
And a woman came online to say something, and I want to know what you guys think.
Oof.
She just gave her
You know
opinion.
they be talking on
They
them,
be
innit?
talking a lot. I'll be honest. The feedback for the most part was positive because
Okay,
a lot of
good.
people encouraging them, which is really good. So Priscilla is 24, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
And he's
she's young.
34.
He's 34, 35.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
34.
10,
and
11 years older.
the direction I'm going is not about the age gap, by
Right.
the way. So the reason I said it is because I think it flows into what she was sort of saying.
Right.
So she was encouraging young ladies, and she just said, whilst she's very happy for Priscilla, and I think you have to read between the lines to get the message.
Okay.
While she's happy for Priscilla, I think she's saying it's very important for young women to not think everything's a fairy tale and it's going to happen for you the exact same way it's happened for Priscilla.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
In saying that, what she means is, for example, the whole period of them meeting and dating was 8 months, cool. Iyabo, which is Priscilla's mum, has made it very, very obvious, and she's not hidden, the desire for her daughter to be married before 25.
Oh.
She's always said she wanted, like, African women.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
always,
wow.
she even said it on, what's it called? On
No way.
Real Housewives of Lagos. I've heard it myself when she was like, oh, Priscilla, whether it's a joke or not, there's still that pressure that will come with a young lady just saying, before 25, you have to be married, this and that. I don't think Priscilla had married, Juma because of that reason. I think she just happened to find the love of her life and they're married now. But the woman was saying, there's that pressure with a lot of young ladies to want to their parents or family, whatever the
By
pressure
a
is, to
certain
be married
age.
by a certain age.
Right.
So it's like,
Oh wow.
did the ultimate question, sorry, before I go on a tangent, is, was there, like, with relationships like that, was there a chance for it to blossom before they got to the stage of marriage? Because it seems like as soon as they've met, we don't know the backstory. I'm
That's
not
such a
saying this
good
is
question.
the fact, but before they've met, by the time they've met, it's almost like what
They
was
were already
the
planning
what was the
for the
period of
wedding.
knowing each other before
Before
the
you-
wedding and proposal and all these things has happened, and she's basically saying, look, at the end of the day, Priscilla has come from a rich home. Regardless of how it goes between her and Juma Jux, she'll be fine because her family are protected. She's good. So her message was for younger ladies that don't have the privilege that Priscilla has, or not on the same.
So just be careful.
To just be careful when it comes to things like this. What do you guys actually think?
There's
of
so
that?
many things I want to talk about. The mum wanting her daughter to be married by 25 is scary to me.
Do you know why it's not scary?
I know it's a
real
normal thing, but in
the
this
African
specific
culture.
scenario, it's
Oh, in
a
this-
bit scary to me because her mum's not married.
No, I don't think.
Do you know why? Like, and the reason I say that, not to be mean, is that as a mother, right? You had your kids. I think she got married very young, is what I
Yeah.
know about her. She got
Yeah.
married very young, and then unfortunately her marriage wasn't successful and it
yeah.
ended, right?
Right.
I think as a mother, having gone through something like that, to then put that age pressure on your daughter, like, even if it's subliminal or subconscious, I just don't think that's wise. That's one aspect.
Regardless of wherever it's coming from, I don't think it's wise to
To
even
do it,
put that
exactly.
pressure on
But
her.
that's just
Yeah.
that's just
Right.
that's just my
one thing.
initial reaction to that.
Right.
But separately, do you know, I'm kind of in two minds about does that relationship have the time to blossom? Because from my Christian mind, like, as a Christian, I actually think we date too long in this certain social climate that we live
This
in.
is why I wanted to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
bring it
Like,
up to
we
see.
date for too long, and we're very accustomed to thinking it's normal to be in like 5-year relationships without any sort of like future planning. Like, we're still on a you,
Sorry.
like I
We're
don't
trying to figure out
I
what's
don't
true,
believe in
like,
that
just-
personally. Like, that's just not me. I understand it because I think people come from the lens of, oh, I need to know them. There's an element of risk in love, in my opinion.
Yeah.
A risk, and not risk as in a dangerous way, but in the
Yeah.
fact that you can never really know a person
It's true,
fully,
you never
especially if you're talking in a Christian context. You're not living with that person before you get married. So there's a lot of things you're never going to know until you enter that. And that's where there's a divine providence and favor that comes from marriage and honoring what God asks you to do. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
different, especially if you've listened to him before making that decision. But then, yes, there's the flip side, like you're saying. Pressure should not be put on that process, because there's a lot of things that should be revealed in that time that enable you to make a better decision versus just going into something because you're like, okay, why
get
not?
along, we're attracted to each
Fairy tale
other.
whirlwind.
Let's get
So
married.
that's
Yeah.
where
That's
Do you know what? You hit the nail on the
Hit the nail.
head, Io, because the initial thing that you said to me when she was saying, for other 24-year-olds, to really be careful.
just younger women.
Yeah, just younger women in general, because one thing I've been seeing a lot on social media is, especially surrounding relationships is okay, and dating, if it's not done like this, then you know, does he actually like you? Does he really? If you're not married by this point, if you're not, and I think we're taking in so much information, where it's like when you're dating in real life now, when you meet someone, your mind isn't actually paying attention to them. It's more so, what could come with them? So okay, this could be my husband, but you're not actually paying attention to the person in front of you, the characteristics, who they are, what they believe, their morals, their integrity, just all of those things gets missed because, okay, I'm on a clock, I need to be married by 25 or before 28, you know, I need to have all of these things, and you're going in a direction that you're not necessarily ready for. I don't think you can ever be 100% ready for marriage, but I do think you can take certain precautions before you walk down the aisle to avoid certain things. So there's that aspect, and again, you literally summed it all up. There's also the flip side where we take too long. We're in situationships for 3 years, and then by the 3rd year he's asking you to be his girlfriend, and that's another 3 years until you know he asks you to be his wife.
That's so extreme.
That's I'm so sorry. I've been seeing clips on Instagram.
It's real.
Where on a podcast, someone asked the guy, and he was dead serious. How long until you ask someone to be your girlfriend? And he was like, over a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years.
It's real.
And I thought, okay, so those 3 years, what are you waiting to see, or what are you waiting for until you ask her to be your girlfriend? So when I see stuff like that, like, I think we're privileged in the sense of we have people around us and our own experiences. We haven't been through extremes like that, but it's out there. There's people suffering like that. No,
suffering
I'm sorry.
is powerful.
No,
well, you're right. It's suffering. Lack of commitment. You've given your all. You're giving your all to something that there's no commitment.
You know, something that's always stuck with me is in our previous seasons, we've spoken about something similar to this, and you said it, like, you and my sister said it as well. Like it's just stuck with me. You're a girlfriend, and you've given in this case, you're not a girlfriend.
Right.
You've given
everything.
Like they know everything.
Everything.
Right. Everything. You said it. She said someone from Peckham knows. Kingston, they know. Camberwell, they know.
Miami.
And there's no, there's no, what's the word? When it comes to your husband now,
there's nothing left.
There's nothing
left. There's no integrity left.
Yeah, because you've given everything else away to everyone else.
And we're not only talking in a sexual nature, by the way. It's
exactly.
Just
Let's not
totality.
Don't let that go over your head. Like, there's intimacy outside of sexual relations.
Right.
And one thing my sister said to me that stuck with me, and this was like before my last day, she said, you want to make sure that you are able to walk away from a relationship with your integrity.
Come on.
With your integrity.
Come on.
And I say all of that to say, guys, let's use wisdom. If someone is not on the same page as you, it's actually okay to walk away. 100. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to not idolize marriage and to not be so fixated on it that you don't actually know the person you're marrying.
100%.
Because you have a deadline to hit.
Right. And it's also okay for someone to not waste your time. If you know you want to be married by a certain age and they're not really, there's no direction, like you said earlier, there's no, I don't know. I don't know. Everything is you don't know. What do you
actually know?
What do you know?
Guys feel like men tend to measure the wifey qualities through loyalty of sticking around and she was there?
Some men, yeah.
Let's be frank.
Some men, yeah.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
She stuck through thick and thin, so she passed the test. That's wifey, yeah? Like, come on, it's a real thing.
If you're using me for tests, just know God will show me and I will get out of there.
I didn't even apply for the test.
I didn't even know that I was signing up for a test.
You've just put me in a test.
Because in the moment of them getting into it, they might not see it, but then because of because men are very attracted to loyalty and respect. Yeah.
So
let's be honest, because sometimes we have to put it in the lenses of women we're emotional beings in comparison to men. We want men that are more emotionally available. That's what we find attractive. A man that understands attention to detail, emotional intelligence. Whereas men, they're attracted to that as well, of course. But there's also that aspect of loyalty and respect. She hold me down. So a man can see all the emotional side and everything, but if he sees you're not loyal to him, you're not wifey material. Do you know what I mean?
And you know what? Congratulations to him, because me too, I want a loyal man.
Do you get?
And can I ask how?
Because I don't think there's ever an issue with women and loyalty. Let's be frank.
You said it. And how do you measure it? That loyalty thing, is it that okay?
Is it cheating scandal number 3? Okay,
if I can do whatever the hell I want, will she still?
A lot of men
around?
are like that though. Let's be honest.
That's so scary.
That's not loyalty.
right. I think that's where the glorifying of suffering comes in, and just different aspects of this.
No, because why is it that every
Going through
birthday caption
turmoil.
you want it to be that we've been through mountains, we've been through valleys?
You're talking about birthday caption. What about wedding vows where you're at the altar and he's talking about you've been there through it all. Like I did this and I did that, and obviously he's not saying what he did, but you just know like she was
can read
there.
through the lines, they're gonna be like, oh, that's it.
Is she wrong for staying?
That's her choice. But you see that self-imposed thick and thin, because there's thick and thin that's not self-imposed, that's life imposed. That health, there are many a thing that happens in life. Life is not a bed of roses.
The loss of a loved one,
but self-imposed thick and thin, you want someone, that's what you're using for test.
You hate me.
Self-imposed is very key here, because there's certain things in life you can't control. Other factors where, like, for example,
100%.
finances, he's trying to work his way
stuff like
around
that.
it. But other things like
Self-imposed.
scandals.
Oh, you stood by me when I was a boy, and now we're bad. And you want me to clap for you?
As a boy, now I'm a man.
I just think stuff like, do you know what? Stuff like that to me is manipulative. I say that because you wouldn't do the same for her. That's number 1. Number 2,
Some will argue men and women are different.
I don't give an eck. Not one single eck. Because I also subscribe to the narrative that men are, not the narrative, the notion that men and women are different. Yes, we both deserve respect.
That's it.
We both deserve the
line.
same level of consideration. Why do you get to have a different set of considerations than I do? Because you're a man. The last time I checked, men lay down their lives for their wives. The last time I checked, men are like Christ.
Right, die to yourselves every day.
So I'm sorry. That's a servant in a good way.
Yeah.
And so hello, hi. That's all I have to say on that one.
What a ministry that is.
I'm trying to test you. I need to see how loyal you are.
I need to see how loyal.
It's like, you want to take me to Goape? Will you jump with me? Will you? What the heck? I find stuff like that so scary. I'm like, if you think like that, please. I'm warning you, men out there that think that's normal.
You don't need to take someone's daughter, just a woman. You don't need to take her through the trenches to know she's the one.
I'm not.
Just be single. It's actually okay to actually just be single.
I'm not a science experiment. I actually am not.
Not work experience.
I'm not. I don't know how many minutes left we have of this episode,
Guys, don't suffer,
but I have a
please.
question. Sorry, I have one more question.
Go for it, sis.
Do you think it's healthy to have an age that you want to get married?
I don't think there's anything wrong with
if you have a healthy balance.
right.
Go on, Ashley.
I don't think there's anything wrong with you have in mind that, okay, do you know what? It would be nice by this age to be married, as long as it doesn't become an idol.
Okay.
And I think it can very easily become an idol.
Yeah.
Especially when you get closer to that age.
Literally. I think you need to have moments where you're checking in with yourself, so you're not too carried away by the fact that, reflect on your behaviours. How are you behaving? Let's say you're in a relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship. Like Ashley said, are you idolizing that relationship just because you're trying to hit that target?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to get there in a healthy way? And are you open to the fact that if it doesn't happen, you'll be fine? You can just extend the deadline a little bit longer.
Because I've extended.
Be absolutely fine.
I'm currently in extension.
Sorry, wait. What?
So what? You had a deadline?
Oh, I thought I was going to get married when I was 24. I was one of them babes. I wanted to be married when I was 21. I would have been married at 22.
Guys,
I would have loved it.
Really? 22?
I would have eaten it up.
I don't think I could have got married at 22.
I would have loved
Me,
it down.
25.
And for me, the reason why it hasn't broken me, because I'm 28 and unmarried, as you see me here. The reason it hasn't,
and I'm married as you see me here.
But the reason it hasn't broken me
Life in
because
the flesh.
that was never an identity thing. It was more in my head. Like, I've always wanted.
Like, it would be nice.
My dream in life is to be a mother. Like, that's always been my dream. So do you know what I mean? So to me, I was just like, yeah. But then as life has happened, I'm so happy I'm not.
Adapting.
100. And I'm even happy I'm not. Like, I'm happy I'm not.
Right.
And I'm happy that it's happening the way that it's happening.
Right.
But like, yeah, as you said, it's the idolization of the age. Because when the age comes and go, you can't go into depression. You can't. It's not healthy.
Everything is just going
You're
downwards
fixated
now.
on 25. It hasn't happened, and you're like, oh my gosh, over. These times you're still breathing. God is still providing in other ways. You've got your degrees. You're working. You're not focused on the other positives in life.
Just focused
it's
on
the fact that you're not 25 and not married. That's when you're idolizing. That's
you're still a baby, man.
Don't tie your value to it. It's being married and being a mother. That's a bonus. You don't want to miss the season that you're currently. And that's one thing I always say. I'm like, God, I don't want to look back at my singleness and feel like, oh my gosh, I was longing to be in a relationship. I wanted company. I wanted
my entire 20s.
Yeah, and I wasted like what you wanted to do through me and around me during that specific season.
Do you know what? That's so important.
I'm like, let me enjoy my life. I don't have that responsibility where I have to check in with someone. I have the freedom and the flexibility.
Beauty in it.
If I want to go on holiday next week, not say you can't do that when you're married, but when you're mother, but it looks different.
100%.
I can do that. If I wanted to do that next week, I can do it.
Your life is your own right now.
If I wanted to move to another city, I can do that with ease. Like, it's just don't miss the joy of this season just because you're single.
Absolutely. And I feel like, again, when you get to a certain age, you can easily just get carried away with all that stuff. Someone said something like, marriage is intended to be a lifetime. And if that's the case, right now, just enjoy this part of your life, because you still got forever to go with the person you're going to be with. So what is the rush? Obviously, we know where the rush is coming from on just everything. Sometimes with human beings, I feel like when we have like a mouse or something we haven't reached, we're longing for it because it hasn't come. And just because it's not seeming reachable at the moment, we want it so badly. But by the time we get there, it's like, what's the next thing? We're always trying to overachieve
for the next,
exactly.
the next.
So I think, again, with the pressure and factors and surrounding everything to do with marriage, I think that's all adding to why women or even men probably want to get married by a certain age, and it seems like the world is over if they're not. But you're fine.
I
promise you.
I'll tell you something too. I was in a relationship for about 6 years. Everybody on this podcast now, they know. And I remember when I was 24, because from 18 to 24, I remember when I came out of that relationship, and I was like, God, wow. God. No, because there's a way that can do something to your brain, where you're like, so excuse me?
Because you feel like the rug has been pulled.
Because in your mind as a girl, I feel like for most girls anyway, you'll be thinking, oh, but that's how that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to end up. And then it doesn't end up that way. And I think the temptation to feel like, oh, you've wasted your years is but you haven't. Life is life, as we said. Life is to be lived. Life is to be experienced. And the things that I've experienced in life have only made me a better woman that I am today. And I'm happy where I am. Do you know what I mean? And it's fine. What is there to look back? I don't need to regret it. I'm still alive and I'm breathing.
100%. It's part of the journey. The fact that you're who you are today, that has made you who you are. So
don't worry. Maybe you're 26 and your relationship ended yesterday. It's okay.
Even today,
I
maybe.
I promise
you'll be okay. In fact, you'll be so fine.
We're all speaking from experience. You'll be good, girl.
You'll be so fine.
You're even gonna look back and you're gonna say, do you know what? I understand why that door closed. Like, that was for my good.
Because some people are not praying.
Get closer to God. I promise you. Like, we're not saying tomorrow you're going to be like a spring chicken and, the sun's shining, you're going to walk out. You probably have days where you cry.
Do it all.
But you will be fine.
Run to the Lord.
That's it.
If there's anything we can say, just run to him. He'll take care of everything else.
And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.